So scouting, how do you scout, man?
Scouting, that's like one of the most important parts in photography, I feel like, in my opinion. Like, if I can find a place that I really like to make pictures, that is maybe the most powerful of all. Because what you get in your scene where your spot is your picture. So, like, having a bunch of spots that you know, that you like, that convey a certain feeling, I feel like that's one of the most important things a photographer could have in his or her
Yeah,
arsenal, you know?
I agree with you. It's going to determine your style. I mean, I really like shooting in fields. I like shooting with in places that have like cliffs or,
Yeah,
um,
like those big epic mountain, epic nature spots.
yeah, and I like to have a couple of those that are, close to me, maybe 20 minutes, and I like to have some
Yeah.
that are a little bit more epic, far off. And I've kind of, I think a lot of scouting has been clients being like, oh, like I've taken a hike at this spot. Would you come take photos with me there? And then I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to come
Yeah, I'm
back
gonna
here
come back
multiple
here. I remember
times.
this spot. A
Yeah.
lot of for me is sometimes that happens, but for me a lot of it is on the internet. I search for like cool public parks or natural nature parks or nature wildlife open preserves, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll go there at good light, golden hour or whatever, and just take some shots and see if it's cool. Or if I have a subject that'll go with me, if one of my wife will be up for it, I'll take her. Someone that will be up for me taking some pictures of them,
Yeah.
and just see if that's a spot I like. Especially if it's close.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot can be said for the fact that you don't have to go out and go to like Rocky Mountain National Park if you're in Colorado. You don't have to
Yeah, you
drive
don't
an
have to
hour and
drive
a half.
hours and hours. Like it could be
No,
closer.
no, you really just when you're scouting, look for like one trait of the location that's going to photograph really good, and
Right.
just look for like small things in the location, like a lot can be done in just like a grassy field. You can have the couple
Yeah.
sit
Yeah, you
down.
could have just like the simplest of
Yeah, you
spot.
can have them lay down, you can have them stand up, and it all looks different in a big, tall, grassy field.
Yeah, I think that's another part of scouting
Yeah,
that's worth mentioning is like sometimes when I'm scouting I'm looking for the most epic spot, but sometimes I'm looking for the most convenient spot because I'm going to go there over and over again and I don't want to have to drive for hours to get there. Like if I can
yeah,
find a spot that made this great picture that I really love, the composition and the lighting works out well and it invokes the feeling that the client wants.
hmm
I mean, why drive for 2 hours when you could just do it for 20 minutes or 10 minutes or depending where you live, it could be out in your backyard. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. I feel like that's one of the downsides of hopping on the adventure photographer trend right now. So
Mm.
it's a little bit off topic, but I see that coming up more and more, and just wording on websites. And so the reality of that is you're going to be driving around a lot. So I mean. If you kind of like shooting more than driving, then maybe just finding a couple of spots around you. So to start
That are
off,
adventurous.
that are
But that's maybe not so
yeah,
far. Yeah, you don't have to
yeah,
go to the most epic spot in your
yeah.
state.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I saw like destination wedding photography on Instagram, and I started working a bunch of weddings down in Arizona and Phoenix, and I started doing all this, and it looks really cool on Instagram. But then once you're down there, you're in a hotel room by yourself, just resting up for
And
the
it's
wedding.
hard to scout spots like that where you don't actually live. Like where you live, you can know all the
Yeah,
hot spots and the great
yeah,
shots.
I did all my scouting on Google Maps, so
Yeah,
like
you have
Google
to do it
Maps
a whole
is
nother way.
yeah.
Or sometimes you can like go into Facebook groups or Flickr and be like, "Hey, I'm coming here. Where should I go? Like, what's
Yeah,
cool?"
yeah. If you have no clue what's going on in the state or area, what I did when I went to Arizona and started working a lot there, I was setting up styled shoots, doing all this
Yeah, try to
stuff.
book like local people to go out and do photos with.
Yeah, yeah. So I did ask a couple of times, and then I also just went to like the closest national park. So if you just
Yeah, national parks are usually
yeah,
pretty.
if you have no idea what's going on and you have no inspiration locally, then maybe just go to your nearest national park. But they're typically kind of far away.
Right, and
But
sometimes they don't allow photos and stuff, and you have to pay for it. So you got
yeah,
to check the rules and stuff. But yeah,
but yeah, I guess like final piece of advice is to start off locally and to see what's around you. Maybe do the best with what you can without driving super far away unless you're really passionate about it.
yeah, try to find some spots that are really close that you love, and then
Yeah,
eventually try to add onto your scenes. Like I like to have some really good nature scenes. Like I like to have some really good mountain scenes, some cool forest scenes. I like to have a couple really cool urban scenes that are both classic urban, but also kind of dingy urban. So it's like I like to have a few of these different ones so that if a client says I'm looking for something like this, I can show them some examples of places that I've shot before.
And try to go an extra mile in scouting too. So what I'll do sometimes is like I'll have a second location that's really really close to that location in my mind. That's like really cool. So like for example, there's one spot with like this big field with some beautiful mountains in the background, and then the sun sets, we go into blue hour, and we start to lose all the light. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm going to impress these guys because I know of another spot just over this hill that's a 10-minute drive, and we got some more cliffs over there and a second sunset because we just drive over to the other side of the mountain over there. And then I got some really happy clients. And
also another reason to have two spots is like sometimes like this has happened to me a couple times where I've shown up at a park where I've been before, and then they're having like a jazz festival. You're like, oh no, there's a jazz festival here. I guess we better jump back in the car and drive 20 minutes down the road.
If you're going into a client session, definitely have. Well, I would say just show up early at least. So show up early so you can walk around.
And if you can check like a website for something like that ahead of time, and you can see if they're having an event or something that day, that could save you a bunch of heartache.
And what I did when I was, I don't do it nowadays, but when I was first starting out, is I would go to the location and I would get out of my car and like walk around and be like, oh, I can do this photo here.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a photo here. Now it all just kind of happens when I leave my car, and it's like.
Yeah, you do that. You go through those motions enough times, and it just becomes like
second nature.
Yeah, it's just,
but
like,
but
so
when you're
natural.
starting out, like just walking around, I know some
out.
people who bring like sketchbooks around and they'll kind of sketch out some stuff. Yeah,
like this is a composition. I don't go that far, but I like to take pictures of the spots ahead of time, and if I have that opportunity, I'll definitely take it.
Yeah. Well, this was photo footage on scouting. So go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Or tell us about your favorite scouting locations in your town.
Yeah,
we'd love to have more secrets.
Yeah. Give away your favorite spot to us in the comments below, so we can flood it with all the photographers who see this video. So.